Hi, I'm Nicholas McGurr, author of The Afterlife and host for Stories in a Cemetery. You can find all my fiction works with themes of the afterlife on nicholasmcgurr.com. That's NICHOLASMCGIRR.com. As a writer, I do research, and that research is more than likely inside a haunted location or a cemetery. Like you, I'm curious about the afterlife, and always looking for a new topic for my next book. I hope you enjoy this episode of my research as much as I did in using it for my fiction works. Let's get into today's story in the cemetery. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 28. First and foremost, let me apologize for the missing episode last week. I have had an upper respiratory infection for the past week and a half. It looks like it's finally coming to a close. Hopefully my voice will hold off for the duration of this episode. But wanted to thank you guys for the patience. I did not receive any nasty emails or anything like that. But I do want to say thanks for allowing me to take some time off. With COVID-19 out there on the prowl, I hope all of you that are listening are healthy and you are only listening out of sheer boredom of being quarantined in your houses and not because you have been diagnosed with the virus. So if you do have the virus, of course, my thoughts are with you, and hopefully you come to a very speedy recovery. But with COVID-19 out there, guys, I've been unable to get out and do my normal investigations. I wanted to do the Francis Marion burial site one more time. I needed some extra pictures for the blog post, and I wanted to gain some more activity through my gadgets and tools now that I know exactly where it's at and kind of carve out some time. But obviously with everything happening and me being ill, I haven't been able to get out to that site. It is about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes away from my home, and I will get out there soon once everything starts to go to a clear. With today's episode, I decided that it was kind of time to start discussing some of the tools, the gadgets, and some other paranormal things that don't deal with actual locations. And I thought this would be just a perfect time for me to really start diving into some of the questions that I get asked all the time, either on my tours or through emails, from folks like you. And this way I get to talk about some of the things that actually happen on my Stories in a Cemetery ghost hunting tours. I've got some really cool topics coming up, so, please stay tuned, and hopefully not hopefully if we get quarantined, but if we do get quarantined, on lockdown, then possibly I might have 2 episodes per week. So just kind of stay tuned and hang out there with me, and I'll try to release these as quickly as possible instead of just a normal weekly Friday. Some of those topics that I have coming up, EMF detectors, the differences of them, why ghost hunters use them, why it's a tool for ghost hunting, spirit boxes and how to use them, different types of hauntings and how to identify them. I think that one there is going to be super cool because I get a lot of questions on my tours about what type of haunting is this? Is it residual? Is it intelligent? Those kind of things. And electronic voice phenomenon. I want to discuss some of the gadgets used there. I want to discuss the different types of voice recorders, the different types of EVPs that come up. We'll analyze some specific ones that I found online and what we're able to determine of what's true and what's false. But again, today I wanted to start off these topics with some of the questions that my guests actually ask me, and something I encourage them to do, which is to take pictures and video while they're on the tour. Put the gadget that I gave them aside and pull out their phone and take some pictures and video. Sometimes those bring about orbs or streaks of light that can't be explained. So I'm going to warn you, in today's episode, you're going to have to go over to my website and check out the blog post that accompanies the episodes. Just because we're going to be talking about some pictures and some video that I posted there that really can't be explained, which is a good thing. Orbs are a very touchy topic with a lot of folks, and this way you'll be able to kind of see this for yourself. So I'll have a link in the show notes, or you can just visit nicholasmcgurr.com and go to the Stories in a Cemetery blog to find the Oddities of Orbs, which is the name of this episode. I always title the episode the same as the blog post. But first, let's get rid of some of these housekeeping notes. As for my secret episodes on Buy Me a Coffee, April's episode has been put on hold for a couple of reasons. First, I've been sworn to secrecy to not reveal anything about my puzzle solve for Byron's Charleston Secret. So if you're not familiar, folks, every The first Friday of every month, I post a bonus episode on buymeacoffee.com, which is kind of like Patreon. It's basically for you to help sponsor the show. And just for $1, not $1 a month or anything repetitive, just $1, you can hear all those bonus episodes. But April right now has been put on hold just because we have, as you know, if you've been listening to it, we have been using verse 5. And the very end of verse 5 has the heated warning of get permission to dig out. So I have sought out that permission, and I've met with several committees, and I will tell you right now that they are super impressed with the research that I have done, that Brian McFarland of Charleston Cavalier Tours has done, and the contributions that my wife April has done to make this a full Charleston solve. And hopefully soon I will be out in the world with a shovel in hand. But as of right now, I've been sworn to secrecy with signed documents, and I'm going to uphold my end of the deal. And until COVID-19 has lifted all the quarantines and restrictions and all of that, I probably will not have another episode on Byron Price's The Secret until we have more detail or more allowances to speak about it. So again, if my solve is wrong, I'll completely admit it. I'll just put it out there, and it will be in the bonus episode. Who knows, I might take it away from the bonus episodes and put it right here in the mainstream of Stories in a Cemetery, of wherever you're listening from. But as of right now, the April bonus episode will be postponed. We'll say that. So, let's see here. What else do I have? So I'm going to ask that you visit buymeacoffee.com and drop a buck in the coffee pot. It helps support the show, especially during these hard times, guys. As you know, my tours have been put on hold. If you live anywhere that has tourism, I'm sure your mayor, governor, whoever has put a hold on any group gatherings of 3 or more, as they have here in Charleston, which limits, and I've had to cancel all of my tours the past 2 weeks, not only for my illness, but basically because it's illegal to meet in large groups. So, but anyway, visit buymeacoffee.com and drop a buck in a coffee pot. Just help support the show. Remember to leave your reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, CastBox, or Anchor. It helps others find the show. You can also share these episodes or the accompanying blog post, like you're about to find out with this episode, on your social media. It's a huge help. So, guys, podcasts and blogs, they basically share, they're spread because of you. And your sharing of social media or a topic that you're passionate about or something that you find interesting, when you put it out there, your friends probably find it interesting as well. So again, take the link from the show, take the link from the blog post, put it on your social media. It's a huge help. I can't track that in any way, shape, or form. I can, but I don't. I track other things, but it's a huge help, guys. Help get Stories in a Cemetery to more listeners. That way I can continue to grow. So again, my tours have obviously stopped to the coronavirus, but you can still buy your Groupon vouchers, guys, when the prices drop. So if you watch Weekend on Groupon, they usually drop prices pretty low. And this way you can at least get your voucher for Stories in a Cemetery and then just redeem it after all of this COVID-19 stuff is left us. Because we're going to get through this, just like the president says. I'm not a supporter of any political leader, but I believe when they say we're going to get through this, we're going to get through it. As far as my tours go, guys, this is a 5-star experience, and it's rated that way on Peak.com, Groupon, TripAdvisor, and Viator. One review that you guys know I like to read my reviews of the show and or my tours. One review states from Jamie, Nick was able to share many stories that most of the regular tours in Charleston don't include. We also got to use the tools of the trade, which made it exciting for my daughter and I. So, Jamie, thank you so much for your review. It's very much appreciated. And I encourage all listeners in the Charleston area to get your tickets while they're available and inexpensive on sites like Groupon. So, guys, let's get into today's episode about orbs. This is a kind of a hot topic. Again, it can be very confrontational almost because so many people have different thoughts on orbs, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about today's episode and what your thoughts are on orbs, and hopefully you guys are going to send me some examples. But as you know, guys, orbs have been caught on camera since basically the invention of the camera was invented. That's a known fact. None of us can deny that. There's been circles of light or some kind of unexplained something on photographs and videos. You've probably caught some yourself. You probably didn't even realize it. So I'm going to urge all of you to, while you're sitting at home, go through your old pictures. Start looking for little circles that you can't explain, either in old pictures, new pictures. Go through your camera roll on your phones. Find it. I'm telling you, they're there. I can almost guarantee it. We've all caught them before. But guys, some people will argue, and it's a legitimate argument, but the skeptics out there, they're not believers like us. And when I say that, it's because they're going to come up with an illogical or illogical answer to an illogical problem. They're going to say it's dust, it's pollen, it's an insect, it's an infrared flare of light that's being reflected. They're going to come up with anything they can to try to debunk it. But what about the ones that can't be debunked? And if you head over to the blog post, you're going to see a couple examples that I give that they truly can't be explained. So, guys, you're probably still, I mean, if you're listening to this, you're into the paranormal, you're into, other supernatural things, and you probably already know what an orb is. For those that don't know, by definition, an orb is just a spherical globe. Think about that for a second, guys. That's anything that's round, and it's a sphere. So it's a 3D object of some sort that's just round. Plain and simple. I mean, talking about a ball, a crystal ball, soccer ball, the earth, the moon, anything that's spherical can be considered an orb. But in the paranormal world, as we all live in, if anybody says orb to me, I automatically start thinking of a floating ball of light that they caught on camera or they have it in a picture. And I'm sure you guys think the exact same way. On my tours, I encourage my guests to take plenty of pictures. You can hear the audio on my website because I record every one of my tours. And I always encourage them to take 2 pictures of the exact same thing in the exact same placement. So, in other words, don't move your hands, take 2 pictures. Reason for that is because if they actually do catch something, we can debunk it by either the next picture or the previous picture. If the orb is not there, or if it's present in both pictures, we can kind of say, well, there might be a dot on your camera. Let's try it again. Let's try it with a different phone. We debunk things right there on the spot. But sometimes my guests will take pictures and they will send them to me later because they caught something. And that's one of the examples that I gave on my blog post. Somebody sent me something where there was 2 masses that they really couldn't explain. They were kind of misty looking. The picture can be a little distorted in some of the edges. And I will say that this was done with, I believe, an iPhone. And the person that I had analyze this picture was automatically able to debunk this, as there's other sources of light coming in off those sides of the picture. But once we started diving into it and kind of really looking into it, there's some foliage in the picture. And within that is a blue streak of light. And it kind of looks like a dragonfly. It's shaped like a dragonfly, but there's no body. It's very odd. You really have to head over to the blog post to really see what I'm talking about. But there's no body to the dragonfly. It's very hard to determine. And dragonflies are common here in Charleston. Let's just put that out there. I try to debunk this at first, but the more you look at it and the more you see it, there's no logical explanation of what we're actually looking at. It's just a blue streak of light that could be in the shape of a dragonfly. I really don't have anything else on this, guys. You have to see it for yourself, and you have to tell me what you think, because this is up for debate. And these are the kinds of things why I posted this specific picture, is because I wanted a debate. I want people to try to debunk this. I want your answers. If you believe it's an actual streak of light that's supernatural, paranormal in any way, shape, or form, let me know. If you want to debunk it and show me something a little bit deeper into the picture that maybe I didn't see or somebody else didn't see, let me know. Let's start a debate on my blog post. You can always leave comments on the bottom. And again, I encourage that. I want to see what you guys think. So again, we couldn't debunk it as anything other than a blue streak of light. And I want to get into the lights and the colors and the different meanings of what that means in the paranormal world. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we're back, guys. Thanks so much for allowing me to put sponsors in the middle of the show. It definitely helps move things along for Stories in a Cemetery. So, guys, we're getting ready to start talking about the colors. And I mentioned for you to go over to the website, check out the blue streak. And one of the reasons why I did this in this order is so that I can talk about the colors and kind of my own beliefs and what happens with my fiction works. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know I write books. You know that I'm a fiction writer, and I love writing about the afterlife. And the colors of basically orbs and spiritual things is really a big influence for my work. So for the rest of this episode and for the blog post, we're going to allege that most orbs that haven't been debunked are that of the spiritual world, which we can't fully understand or explain. I don't have a full explanation. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm just going to tell you what my beliefs are. So this is not a very truthful or factful type episode where it's very data driven. It's more about, let's question some things. Let's get some conversations going. So there's a great article that I found by Beth Asaf called The Different Colors of Ghost Orbs and Their Meanings. The article explains how orbs are spiritual energy and how each color refers to what type of energy you are dealing with. So I'm going to urge you to read this article. You're going to have to head over to my blog post to get the link. And this way you can actually read it and go into, if you find something on your own pictures, it's going to help you determine basically what type of energy you're dealing with. But the breakdown of it is something, I put it on the blog post. It's very simple. So if you have a clear or a silver orb in your picture, it is communicative energy. If you have a black or brown orb in your photograph or video, you're in an unsafe area. Red and orange, safety and security. Green is a human spirit or somebody one with nature. Blue, psychic energy and or truth. Gray is fear, and pink is love. Now, the last one, pink is love, kind of raised a little skepticism with myself because we always assume that pink, we associate that with Valentine's Day, with love, with flowers, those kind of things. It's almost like a mental state that we were taught to think of pink that way. I do have a little bit of skepticism with this, but again, it does help clarify some of the different colors that might come up in the orbs that you're going to find. So as much as I want to believe that the blue streak that I found is some type of anomaly or part of the supernatural world, I can't justify that it's not just a dragonfly. I'd love to hear what you think. So again, drop me some comments on the blog post. According to Beth's article, the blue is psychic energy and truth. Now, the person that took this photo was very much in tune with the supernatural world, the paranormal lingo that I was using. Like they were pretty in touch with what I do. I didn't have to explain a whole lot to them. But I'm going to bring up one more person, a doctor actually, based on some books that I've read. His name is Michael Newton, PhD, and for him, this is an interesting concept. And I get very passionate about this because I've used Michael Newton's theories as part of a premise for my own work. And if you read my fiction work, a lot of it is influenced by his 2 volumes of the studies that he did. Now, he wrote 2 nonfiction volumes called Journey of Souls, 1 and 2. The purpose of this was to have subjects, or patients rather, go into hypnosis, and they would reach into their past lives and talk about the journey in between each life through reincarnation. The interesting thing about this is that the in-between life, while they're not here on Earth, they all talk of these magnificent colors and the things that they see and what these colors mean. Now, Dr. Newton has done enough of these studies to actually put it a sequential order of these colors to age the souls. How interesting of a concept is it for somebody who writes about the afterlife to actually have a color-coded chart to show how old a soul might be? And how interesting is it that I have pictures sent to me and pictures I've taken and video I've taken of orbs of different colors? You can imagine the fascination that I have whenever I come across anything that has orbs in it, because I'm looking at the color scheme. It's pretty simple as far as he goes into 6 different levels: infant souls, baby souls, young souls, mature souls, old souls, and transcendental and infinite souls. So the colors go from white to a pinkish color, then they move into yellows, oranges, and a gold color, and then they go into not yellow, that's more of a peach, into an orange, to a red, yellow, light green, then a very bright green, and then it starts going into your hues of blues, and then finally a purple. So purple being the transcendental and infinite souls. He calls it the stages of reincarnation. Now, I did happen to see, I caught this chart, was on a website that I found that was talking about the different chakras, which also aligns with the same exact theory. So I found that on another blog called Eternal Circle blog, Consciousness and Spirituality. So I have all these links on the blog post. You're more than welcome to go and visit them, and I have cited them all properly. They're at the very bottom of the page. So in the conclusion of Newton's Journey of Souls, the first volume, he wrote this, and I wanted to read this to you just because it brings so much light to this entire topic of, we're talking about orbs and colors and why he does what we're doing. He says, "We are divine but imperfect beings who exist in two worlds, material and spiritual. It is our destiny to shuttle back and forth between these universes through space and time, while we learn to master ourselves and acquire knowledge. We must trust in this process with patience and determination. Our essence is not fully knowable in most physical hosts, but self is never lost because we always remain connected to both worlds." Powerful statement, guys. Powerful, especially when we're starting to deep dive into something like orbs and why they exist. With the colors and the different explanations that he gets through his volumes, I'm going to urge you guys to read these books, especially if you're interested in orbs and anything that deals with reincarnation and the afterlife. He explains it, and his patients explain it in a very simple form where we can actually understand it. Sometimes his patients are almost speechless, which is very reasonable considering where they might be. So I'm going to move forward a little bit just to kind of show off another orb. This is a video that was sent to me, again, on the blog post. I have to urge you to go there. But it's of somebody's front porch. It's their Nest camera or their security camera of some sort. I can't really see what it is exactly. But they wanted me to analyze it and kind of take a look. And it's somebody who I know and trust. And I believe I may have posted this on my Facebook pages before, on my author page. But the video's on the blog so you can watch it. And I'm going to urge you to watch it several times. It's only like 12 seconds long. When the orb starts moving, it comes in from the right side of the porch, kind of passes through a plant that moves in the opposite direction. So if the wind is blowing dust, we can kind of debunk the dust theory right there. And this orb is not small. This is pretty large. It's not like a little speck of dust moving across somebody's porch. This is an orange ball basically bouncing in the air, and it's very easy to see. It's not like I have to point it out. I didn't put any arrows of like, look right here or watch this. I did point out a few things. I did point out that the plant moves in the opposite direction as the orb passes through it, which is very interesting. There's two pillars on the porch. The orb goes behind the pillars based from the camera's point of view. The interesting thing about that is that I blew this up to make sure like the light or the orb wasn't going over top of the pillar, which would prove that it was from something else. It was from something man-made. But it does indeed go behind the pillar. And guys, that's huge. Watch this video several times. Tell me what you see. Also in the top, on the right pillar, you can actually see some of like different light depictions that may be considered orbs if this was just a photograph. But they stay still the entire time, which means it's coming from the porch light. And that was another big factor too. As you're watching this orb, it moves not just in a straight line, but it almost pauses for a second, like on the ground, and then continues to move on in a different direction. Again, I'm going to urge you guys to watch this video several times. Leave me your comments at the bottom of the blog post, and let me know what you think. It's a yellowish color, which kind of tells me it's in that middle state according to Dr. Newton's theory. And it's very interesting to kind of put all this together. So, guys, overall, my conclusion is that orbs, they need to be debunked before any mysterious conclusion can be made. It's pretty simple. We have to debunk these things. It could come from a million different things. We have tons of skeptics out there. They probably outnumber us believers, probably 4-1, if I'm doing any kind of quick math in my head. Skeptics, you all are going to try to bash this episode and my blog post, and I'm going to urge you to. I want you to try to debunk some of these things with us, and that way we can come up with an actual logical answer. So I'm going to leave you guys with a quote from my book, Growing Dim, which relates completely to this. We are raised in a society where we are taught to believe a more logical reason for an illogical happening rather than the illogical reason for something which may be of the unknown. Hence, why the logical answer is illogical to the logical person. Very confusing, I know, but you have to read it to see it and get the full gist of it. Guys, head to the blog post and let me know what your thoughts are on the bottom of the blog post in the comments. Send me pictures. I believe you could leave pictures in the comments. Let me know if you can, and I'll see what I can do to fix that. But for now, guys, that's this week's Story in a Cemetery. I can't thank you enough for being patient with me. As you can hear, my voice is starting to go for sure. And I will have hopefully at least for sure one more blog post and episode next week. But let's shoot for 2 based on what's going to happen in our country. So, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening to today's Story in a Cemetery. Be sure to check out the show notes with pictures and bonus audio sections on nicholasmcgurr.com. As you know, I'm a writer, and now you have another story that inspires me to write my fiction works. Be sure to share this episode on your social media or leave me comments on the Stories in a Cemetery Facebook page. I'll see you next time with another Story in the Cemetery.